Dear Grade 12, I am Mrs. V. Ramlal. Welcome to the Junior Tucky Winter School for Grade 12s. There will be a series of videos which will be live streamed in the next few weeks on Junior Tucky Online. Please use this material as revision and also look at all the Grade 12 content in Life Sciences on Junior Tucky Online. In this video, I will be looking at the Grade 12 Life Science Gauteng 2021 Prelim Paper 1 and I will be looking at question 2. Right, question 2. 2.1. The graph below shows changes in the diameter of the pupil and the different luminances. Luminances refer to how bright the light is. The diameter of the pupil ranges from approximately 2 mm to 8 mm. In your graph, you have the diameter of the pupil at different luminances. Here, your dependent variable is the diameter of the pupil. What you are controlling, the luminance. 2.1. Get the diameter of the pupil at point A. So here is point A. They want the diameter. So with your ruler carefully, you measure and it looks like it's 6 mm. But I still remember when we marked this paper, that after the addendum was received, we accepted up to 6 mm to 6.2 mm. 2.1.2. Calculate the average diameter of the pupil using only the points indicated between A and B on the graph. Show all working. The average diameter between the 2 points A and B. So the first point is 4.9 and the second point is 3.8. You add these two and you divide them by 2. So your answer would have been 8.7 divided by 2 and your average diameter is 4.35 millimeters. Don't forget to show your workings and to include your millimeters. 2.1.3. Describe the relationship between luminance and the diameter of the pupil from point A to point B. So from point A to point B, what's happening to the luminance? It's increasing. But what is happening to the diameter of the pupil? It is decreasing. So that's what you say. As the luminance increases, the diameter of the pupil decreases. 2.1.4. Explain the role that the pupillary reflex plays in changing the diameter of the pupil from point A to B. So the diameter is increasing and then it decreases. So they are asking you what causes this, right, to cause this change. Now, of course, we know it is the iris that controls the pupil size. And for this change to take place, the circular muscle is going to contract, the radial muscle will relax, and the pupil will constrict. It's becoming smaller, as you can see here. So the diameter of the pupil is decreasing or the pupil constricts to let less light in. Any three of those answers, you would have got 3 marks. Right. 2.1.5. Define each of the following. Luminance is how bright the light is. That is already given here in the text. B. What is a reflex action? We know it's a fast, automatic, involuntary response to a stimulus. So you must have the word fast or rapid response to a stimulus. Then 2.1.6. The beam of light from a laser pointer has a high enough luminance to burn any receptor cells in the retina in about 10 seconds. Explain how shining a laser pointer directly on the retina for more than 10 seconds will affect your eyesight. So you must answer how it will affect your eyesight. Now, the cones or your rods or your photoreceptors will be damaged. No stimulus will be picked up, no impulse will be created, no impulse will be sent along the optic nerve, there will be no interpretation in the cerebrum, and vision will be impaired. Make sure you always answer how this will affect eyesight. Always remember, it's stimulus, impulse, interpreted. That's the order in which you discuss your eye and your ear questions. Right. Question 2.2. The diagram below shows the internal structure of the eye. 2.2.1. Identify structures labeled A and B. So that little black dot is A. B is those little lines that are holding the lens. So A is the ciliary muscle, B is the suspensory ligament. 2.2. The optic nerve, which is this nerve here, is a sensory neuron. Tabulate 2 differences between a sensory neuron and a motor neuron. Very nice. You get 1 mark for drawing the table, meaning you draw the frame, your columns, and your rows. Your headings, differences between sensory neuron and motor neuron. Now we know it didn't say specifically what differences, so you could have mentioned anything. A sensory neuron carries an impulse to the CNS. The motor neuron carries the impulse away from the CNS. A sensory neuron has one dendrite. Well, if you remember your diagram, a motor neuron has many dendrites. A sensory neuron has both the dendrite and the axon that are myelinated, which means it's covered by the myelin sheath. The motor neuron only has the axon that is myelinated. The sensory neuron makes up only part of the white matter, whereas the motor neuron makes up part of the white and the gray matter. The sensory neuron is found in the dorsal root, the motor neuron is found in the ventral root, and the sensory neuron is a much shorter axon, and the motor neuron has a longer axon. So any two. The memo says mark the first two. 223. Name the part of the nervous system which is composed of the cranial and spinal nerves. 1 mark. That is, of course, the peripheral nervous system. And the last question here, 224. Describe how structures A and B, which is the ciliary muscle and the suspensory ligaments, enable the ability to focus on objects further than 6 meters away. So you will say the ciliary muscle will be relaxed. So this is distant vision. The ciliary muscle is relaxed. The sensory ligaments become taut or tighten. The tension on the lens is increased. The lens becomes less convex or flatter. The refractive power of the lens will decrease, or light rays are refracted less. So again, any 4 of these answers would have gotten you 4 marks. Right. 2.3. The diagram below shows a section through the human brain. 231. Give one function for each of the following. The corpus callosum. This is the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum, we know, joins the 2 hemispheres of the cerebrum and allows for communication between the 2 hemispheres. We only wanted 1 mark. It's only for 1 mark, so any one answer. B. The cerebrum. What's the function of the cerebrum? Any one of these answers. Controls voluntary actions, receives and interprets sensations from sense organs, and responsible for higher thought processes. Any one you could have written for 1 mark. What's the function of the spinal cord? We know. It transmits impulses between the peripheral nerves and the brain and allows for reflex actions to take place. Again, any one of those marks. 232. Draw a labeled diagram of a simple reflex arc and indicate the direction in which the impulse travels. Now, here you just had to draw the neurons positioned correctly in the diagram, meaning you first had to have your sensory neuron, then your interneuron, and then your motor neuron. That's what the P stands for. You had to indicate by arrows the direction of the impulse. And then you could have had any 2 correct labels, which was, we used the symbol L, and your heading, a diagram of the reflex arc. That would have gotten you your 5 marks. This was a very nice diagram. They just wanted you to see, do you know, sensory neuron carries the impulse to the spinal cord, interneuron in the spinal cord, and ventral and motor neuron away from the spinal cord. So they wanted you to see the position of the traveling of the impulse and the direction of the impulse as well. You had to know. This was a nice question. And the last question, 2.4. The diagram below shows the internal structure of the ear. 241. Give the letter and the name of the part of the ear that allows air to move between the middle ear and the throat. Well, there we know it's D and it's the eustachian tube. Spelling is very important. Learn how to spell. B. Contains receptors for hearing. We know the receptors for hearing are in part C, and that is the cochlea. Is a membrane separating the outer ear from the middle ear. That's easy. That is E. That is the tympanic membrane, tympanum, or eardrum. But try not to use the word eardrum. D. Is the first of the 3 ossicles. We know it's part A. Could be the hammer or the malleus. E. Conducts sound waves from the pinna to the structure labeled E. That is part F, the auditory canal or the ear canal. And then the last question, 242. In a soccer match, the goalkeeper dived to save a goal from being scored by the opposing team. Describe the role of the semicircular canals in maintaining balance as the goalkeeper dived. 5 marks. There you must say the cristae in the semicircular canal is stimulated by changes in speed and direction. As the head moves when the goalkeeper dives, this causes the endolymph in the semicircular canals to move. The cristae converts a stimulus into an impulse, a nerve impulse. The nerve impulses are transported along the auditory nerve to the cerebellum to be interpreted. Again here, any 5 of these points would have got you 5 points or 5 marks. Right, thank you for joining me and doing question 2 of the Gauteng Prelim. Join me and watch all my other videos as well.